Hi. Okay, I've checked the microphone is working. I'm so sorry about my inconsistent production values, but thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for enduring. Whether you're a first-time watcher to this video, whether you're a long-term subscriber, I really appreciate it. And I just want to start first of all by saying I think I've shared this metaphor before maybe on here, but when posting to the internet, as you probably already have experienced or know yourself, there's this feeling of like throwing a ball over a fence. And the fence is 3 meters, let's say. So it's taller than a person. You can't see, and you can't climb over to see what's on the other side. And you throw a ball over, and you've heard voices. You know that there's people over there, definitely, because other people, you can look over or, talk to your friends or whatever, and you see them throwing balls back and forth. Maybe they throw one ball, they get 100 back. Maybe they throw one and nothing happens. But you really don't know if anyone's going to catch it, if someone's going to watch the ball drop next to them on the other side of the fence. And even though they've seen the ball, they've looked at the ball, they've picked it up maybe, but then they walk away. They're not necessarily going to throw it back. And I guess that's a bit like people who are just passing through and are like, this randomly got served up on my feed and I'm not necessarily interested and I don't know who this guy is. Then there's people who might be like, oh, I'll pick it up. Every time he throws over a ball, I look at it. I sniff it. I figure it out. I think about throwing it back, but I'm fine. I'll just leave it where it is and go on with my day. And that's kind of people who are the silent watchers, I suppose, or lurkers, as we used to call them in internet olden days, non-commenting, non-interacting necessarily, but are there because there is a view count and I can see analytics about how much people are watching and when they're tuning out and all the rest of it. Then there's people who I so appreciate too who are like, I gotcha, I'm throwing that ball back. Here you go, Kyle. Here's a comment. I liked it. I shared it. I reposted. Here's a ball of my own. I've got a question too. Woo! And I really appreciate that too. But on the side of the fence is the person who's, who owns the ball game, I guess. It's just such an interesting little dynamic. And on TikTok, it's a very specific thing, but I've got myself into a really kind of confident and known rhythm at the moment. I've got 93,000 followers. I've got a recipe that works and a repeatable pattern that gets heaps of views. I now get paid money from brands in order to kind of, make videos infrequently and not quite at the level that we need, to get the delusion in full force, but we're getting there. It's a lot more than 12 months ago where it was $0 and no one asking me to make videos. So that is awesome. And it also, and I know what is going to sync when I post something that's not to the golden format that people love, luxury bag parodies, that's going to sync so much lower. And that's fine because there's a longer strategy about that all rising together, I think, and branching out into a bit more kind of lifestyle content once there's a little bit more of a critical mass. I guess 100K feels like a random number that might feel nice to kind of start pushing that a bit harder. But I'm saying all this just because I really like the idea of anyone being over the fence and throwing a ball over there is so special. Rising intonation. It's actually so special. Falling intonation. With confidence. Assertive statement that I believe in because I don't know. I grew up in a time where I didn't have the internet and then we did get the internet and I was a kid and I'd spend, hours chatting in random AOL chat rooms to, I'm sure some of them, at least one was a predator in really inappropriate situations at times. But just, talking, that's what you did early internet. And then, talk with your friends from school, but on MSN Messenger. And I think I'm just aware of the magic of the internet that 50 years ago, I've said this before, so sorry, we don't need to repeat it, but like 50 years ago, it's not necessarily possible to have, when you've kind of been what feels like you're just like running out of patience with acting and the creative industries, in terms of how difficult it is, how uncertain, how much of a gamblerholic kind of attitude you need to have to sustain yourself, how much the idea of like, it's just an endurance race, just stick in there long enough and something will come good, how tiring that is. As you start aging in the world and your body starts aging and things, the idea of just enduring things, how many examples of actors and artists that you start to notice and anecdotes that you collect about really unhealthy long-term lifestyles that are symbiotically being impacted and sustained, negatively impacted, but life being sustained by their relationship to art and making it. And I'm talking about people who I've known who have had to sell their house to go back to renting, but who are incredible actors and have had really interesting main stage careers, people who have housemates in their 50s and further. And I just say that I know lots of people have housemates, and that's, you know, a very like white Western lens to look at these things through. But I'm just saying, comparable to if you'd kind of like given up the idea of artistry for a normie career, of which there's lots out there, and artists thrive in normie settings because we're interesting and creative and offer a lot that the normies can't. I had a clown teacher at RADA when I did a short course over there. We'd call them the sad normals. She's like, there's clowns, there's us, and then there's the sad normals. And you can see them on the tube in the morning. Take note. And I love that, because it is a case of like a world out there that is in a grind and in a pattern, and the quiet screams of people who want more, and then maybe even the absolute delight in the just monotonous repetition of the mundane, the security that comes from a really clear long-term investment plan that is investment in your career, investment in your kids, your house, and whatever else. Fine, just so not for me, so not for me. And I wish, oh my gosh, if I just, the only thing I would say to my younger self, although I'd say nothing because I don't want to Marty McFly Back to the Future alter any kind of things, because I think we're all on the path that we're supposed to be on. But I think the thing that I would say or point out is just like, just keep asking people until you find an alternative opinion. If you just ask enough people, eventually you'll hit an alternative opinion. And I just say that because I grew up in a very kind of sheltered, closed community, regional Australian, Christian, conservative, farming, set of shared and common ideologies. I went to school with the people who lived down the road, with the people who had siblings who married my siblings, with the people who went to church on Sunday, Wednesday, and Tuesday or Friday, whatever it was, in terms of like Bible study and youth group and Sunday service, Sunday night service, and so on. And I really didn't realize how tiny that pool was until I moved away. And I think that idea of like having so few examples of, I guess like counter culture or subversion or, like alternative pathways, and the idea of like there is something else other than like get married, have kids, get a house, preferably get a house first because you're the man, and then reproduce as much as you can, and then hopefully go and catch a few stray heathens and convert them to Christianity. And I think like, even without having a crack at Christianity, because I've just landed an ad on TikTok to promote a Christian streaming service, and I really am a fan of taking money from the Christians where I can. So I will be doing it. It'll be interesting to see what impact it has on my audience and whether it tracks. Luckily, barely any of my paid content gets any views. Don't tell the brands that. So it's a very small selection we're talking about. But I also think like, heck, I mean, I promoted Temu, and honestly, like you can't find many more kind of contemporary organizations or companies that are more morally bankrupt than the kind of, endlessly producing plastic crap kingdom that is Temu. But that money allows me to make more videos. Justified. Hey, I've been using a Keep Cut religiously for years, so can you just lay off? All right, anyway. But like Christianity aside, I just wanted to highlight that even within Christianity, there's so many different examples, just didn't see them. So I guess I'm just saying all of that to say there's a time in my life where I couldn't fathom being able to reach an audience of this size or do magic, which is what I'm doing. Have ideas in my head that I put out into the world that then people watch, that then they pay me money for. That allows me to live, to do more videos, to create more things, to meet more people. It's so good. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Like, to be alive at this time. I keep, every now and then one of my dark fears is 38? 38? And you haven't, you're not, what? You haven't been in a movie. You're 38. Why are you still trying? That's the inner critic. And then I think yeah, but how lucky am I? I got this entrance point at 38 and not 48, which would still be lots of time. I got this entry point at 38, not 58, which would still be lots of time. I got this entry point at 38, not 78, which would still be lots of time. Who cares? And, I think there's cycles and rhythms and seasons to all of this as well, which means maybe in 10 years I'm not doing any of this. Maybe I've really committed to the kind of monk lifestyle and I'm living in a mountain in Tibet somewhere. Oh, that's kind of exciting. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Add it to the vision board. Anyway, I did make some notes to talk through today because I am wanting to just produce a little bit more consistent, high quality content rather than brain dump content. And I think across all of my mediums, the more planning I can do, the better the execution. Hey, some updates from me. I missed my first day. For the first time, I missed a day of meditation, breathing work yesterday. It was because I woke up late. I had to check out of accommodation. I was getting some other work done. I had a flight to catch. I didn't have anywhere to film it. I even tried. I negotiated my way into a meeting room at the Townsville Library to ask, and that was a whole fuss. Anyway, it was not soundproof enough for me to do the Dracula TikTok. And so it was definitely not soundproof or, whatever, for me to do my kind of gentle chanting and breath work. I think it's a bit too freaky deaky for people. If they saw what was going on, they'd be like, are you okay? So I got, the flight was delayed. I got in after midnight. And so it was just, I was just I could stay up now and do it. But I think after I finish this breathwork meditation stuff, each session, there is this surge of clarity as well as energy and momentum. And that time it was already 1:30, and I was I don't know that I can end the meditation and then wind down for bed. It feels like anyway, so I just let it go. But what I'm proud of, back on track today. We did it, and I think it's good practice to be it's not going to be perfect. There are going to be days where I just cannot do it. But the main thing is to get back on the horse and go again. So just wanted to report that in itself, the kind of missing a day was a win, which is quite weird. Hey, and tomorrow I might sign up for Pilates. There's a 10-day trial pack before I commit to, a 10-session trial pack before I commit to the $80 a week unlimited. So I'm going to do that. I'm aware that I haven't maybe the Christian streaming service is the manifesting money. I don't think so. But sure, it is. So on one hand, I'm acknowledging the fact that look, there hasn't been someone slipped an envelope of money under the door. No one's bought my Pilates subscription, but I also haven't promoted it on my TikTok. And I am going to make a video. I had a really great epiphany moment. Kyle, stay on track, but just finish this thought while I was running tonight, which was that, this is the time of year, in Australia, I don't know if the same elsewhere, but our end of financial year is June 30. And so right about now is where arts organizations and not-for-profits ramp up their kind of giving campaigns, asking everyone to donate, we did multiple assignments on it as part of my master's degree for the fundraising, arts fundraising subject. And I'm going to launch my own fundraising campaign for me. And like, it's a little bit odd, isn't it? But I also just have worked in enough arts organizations to know, and local government, to know how inefficient, how the use of money can be used really well, but also is just kind of pissed out the door with so much bureaucracy and so many roles. There's a really interesting kind of public news interrogation about Melbourne Fringe at the moment in Australia, and people, artists collectively kind of knocking on the door being like, hey, Melbourne Fringe, we need a better deal here. And Melbourne Fringe being like, la 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 la, no thank you, la 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 la, which I'm so excited because I love a bureaucratic rumble. Anyway, I'm going to launch my own end of financial year giving campaign, because I also think like, hey, absolutely give generously to any arts organization or any organization that you would like to give to. But I also just want to encourage you, this is me practicing my speech, not directly talking to you, we're just practicing here. I also want to encourage you to support an artist that you can really get behind. I can show you some stats, particularly of the organizations that I've worked for and from public records and things like that, about the reach of programs and the number of people reached through the money and what that donated dollar converts to. But boy, oh boy, can I show you some stats for myself and just how much the money that you are giving to me actually has reach around the globe. I can post a video and I can guarantee you I will get 10,000 likes and 100,000 views minimum. And with my tried formula, obviously, I can't just do that for anything. I can show you the stats of the millions of views that I have, and obviously the tens of thousands of followers. But the ability to support me is not just like, oh, great, you're going to buy some more wacky props for your videos. Yes, I will. But do you know what else I'm going to do? Free up my time to grow my creative empire so that I can just run workshops for free, so that I can go into schools and just do what I do. But rather than hustle out and be like, oh, can you book me for a term? And this is my day rate and whatever else. How sick would it be to be like, yeah, do you know what? I just make a TikTok once a week. That covers all my expenses in my life. I go and serve the community with my super skills in the best way that I can. And I think that's through supporting people's creativity, their attachment to play, and sharing what I can. Anyway, I feel like there's been enough people that are like, I appreciate you, I laugh at your work, it brings me joy, that I don't need to justify that, like, what I do has value. Not the same value as X, Y, and Z, but I would say from the organizations I've worked at, equal if not more value than a lot of the programs that are being fundraised for, and without local, state, and federal funding behind it as well. So anyway, that was an exciting thing. Okay, that was a long tangent to say. Why did I go on that tangent? I've just signed. Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, manifestation. So I guess I'm saying this little Pilates manifestation thing is coming to a close. I sort of, all the days are a bit wacky woo because I just leave it 3 days and then be like day 12, even though 3 days has passed and the last one was day 11. I just thought that it'd be easier to track. But I'm just saying that because I think I'm going to do Pilates. So I just wanted to recap on all the manifestation magical wins over this little concentrated period of sharing and this kind of narrowing in. And it is much bigger than 30-day manifestation challenge or whatever, because it feels like a whole life shift. It feels like all these kind of seemingly random elements coming together: quitting job, moving cities, meditation course even, the idea of treating my creative practice and social media seriously, the idea of taking care of my body, and the ultimate privilege that is when you have money and time, you can actually look after yourself really well. I've never felt better, but it's only because I'm not working and I have money and savings to support myself. It makes me feel both incredibly grateful and a little bit sad, because I think, how do you get ahead? A lot of what I would describe as kind of white working class bogans that I'm addicted to on TikTok, and I watch a lot of their content, I see the kind of absolutely nutrient devoid meals that they serve up to their families on a nightly basis. And I think good on you for cooking at home at all and making a go of it. And I also think, yeah, it's expensive to buy organic food, take the time to cook, to not be working, to be able to prepare meals really well. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a privilege. Again, I feel really lucky and grateful at this time in my life. And I look back on my diary like a year ago, and things were pretty dark. The entry that I read was like, it's not funny. Esther Perel would be like, that's not actually funny. The entry that I read was like, I went to the doctor just to kind of see if I could get a sick leave certificate to get today off work, and I couldn't stop crying, and I kept like not being able to finish talking about it without crying, and how hard work is by the fuckwit manager that we have at the moment. And the doctor was like, I think you're on the edge of burnout, so I really recommend you not going to work for like a week or two or something like that. And I was like, no, I'm fine. It's not burnout. I just am really emotional all the time and can't stop crying. Okay. And I'm really stressed, but I know I can get across my job. It was such a hectic time. And I find those stories about like, I've got a sociopathic boss so boring to listen to. And I really had not met anyone like this until I met that boss at that time that was just making work so difficult, on top of just a really boring existence. It's 21 minutes, Kyle, and we're at point 2. Let's rip through them. I'm feeling, I think the wins from this manifestation period are I'm exercising daily in preparation for the Pilates membership, but now I'm like, oh, hang on. It's been over a month of eating well and exercising. I'm noticing the difference in my bodies. I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling, wait for it, power in my body, which I think is a very beautiful, powerful little metaphor, simile for like the idea of power of being able to create your own reality. And again, when you can see your body physically being created in a way through your own mind and intention, a thought that came in my head that said, go for a run, Kyle, after 2 years of not doing anything, made my body change. Wild. Amazing. I feel clearer in my head, I think, from the meditation and exercise and better eating. The cravings for sugar have passed as well now. I'm not walking past ice cream, or at the start there was this like week where, because I'd gone from like just dessert a couple of times a week to nothing, I was getting cravings for sweet dessert. And so I was going to like the acai place, like, and having acai with like dried banana, which I know is full of sugar, you don't need to tell me, and coconut flakes and whatever, and like the healthy treat. And now I'm like, oh, literally, I don't want an acai bowl. I was just doing that as a craving kind of, as a quit patch, my acai quit patch. And I don't have that now. I'm not thinking about McDonald's. I like deleted the apps, KFC, McDonald's. I'm not getting the like 10 wicked wings for blah, blah, blah. It's great. I really appreciate that. There's still times. The other night I was just like, in Vietnam, I want a pizza. And I didn't have one, but I think that's normal and will come up, but it ain't anywhere near the kind of like, I'm stressed and I need to go buy a packet of lollies on a late night walk. I'm now up to 18 days, and I know that's not going to sound like it a lot, but it is for me, having been a daily 18 days of not smoking weed. I don't know if I should say that on there, but it, at first I was like, oh, I just won't do it in Vietnam, obviously, because I'm not going to internationally travel with drugs. And so I do have a prescription, I should just be really clear in saying. So it's like medically prescribed. But I think, if I'm being really honest, I used some of my real life in the initial consultation and a little bit of my acting degree in order to get that prescription. But I really enjoy it. I find it really relaxing, creatively stimulating. I find it makes me so much less kind of like socially avoidant. I'm really happy to go in a group social situations, especially with people I don't know or friends of friends or things like that, if I've had a little bit of an easing in. because still am like, ugh, I'd so much rather stay home than like go out into it like an unknown, just like, night at the pub or something. So I'm really proud of 18 days. I've come back, I haven't had any, and I'm just thinking like, well, let's just test this. I like know in my heart that even though I love it, I do think that the side effects, which is like the kind of munchies and cravings, are not good, and they end in lots of temptation. And also I think as much as it is really delightfully relaxing, I think that it's causing me to black out lots of periods of time. Not blackout. I just mean like it writes off nights. So if I get to 10 p.m. And I blaze up, I can't get anything done. I'm not going to film a video then. I'm not going to probably even do one of these, right? I mean, there might have been one early on where I was like a little bit cooked. But now there is just this clarity. And I find myself a little bit like itchy about that. Like there's times where I'm like, what do I want to do now? I don't want to scroll on TikTok. There's no kind of tactile activity around for me to do. What could I do? And then my body remembers and it's like, you know what to do. Go lie in your hammock and charge up the Mighty Medic. So there's some work to do there, just about to find what replaces that. Thanks for letting me share that. I appreciate it. You can judge if you want to. Once upon a time, I would have as well. Probably a little bit less reactive to situations, like a little bit less instantly reactive. I was really proud on the plane last night. I reckon there was about 6 kids under 5 sitting around me, and all of them at different times really getting into it. But I found myself just being like, I think I've got a bit more compassion right now in my body. I think I feel quite relaxed. I think I'm okay with a child screaming next to me because I can feel how much the mum's going through and how much she doesn't want to be here either. And I was like, I'm fine. This is a flight. This won't last forever. That I don't know if that's meditation related, but I'll claim it as that. And I think the course that I did this is all, I'm jumping around. It's all sort of connected. Just assume there's a divine connection here that all makes sense. Do you remember? I don't know if you saw the video that I did, the video diary from Vietnam, where I was like, we'd been given some homework to make 3 new friends, and I was really stressed, or not stressed, but yeah, I happily would do that if I'd had a blaze up, right? Not stone cold sober, Kyle. I feel just a bit like nervous about it, and I don't know what to say. And I think I generally am a bit of a socially awkward person. I know how to speak well and kind of play certain characters and get on, but only under kind of like really the right circumstances. Is this on a weird angle? Sorry. So anyway, I didn't do it. I failed at that homework. I sat in a cafe. I don't know if I said this or not. I sat in a cafe looking at this guy in the corner being like, Kyle, just go speak to him. And I was like, but what about? He's drinking. Oh, sorry. Okay, not good for the camera and not good for the listener either. I'm so sorry. If you were just listening with the screen down, the camera just fell over. That's all that happened. Anyway, I didn't do it. I came back to Australia thinking about that a lot and being like, that's so interesting how hard that was. And I also feel like it's the answer to me breaking through to another level of like becoming myself, or not becoming myself. I already am myself, but like just unlocking greater potential. That's a better way of saying it. And while I was in Townsville, I've just been gently just keeping it in my mind about like, look for opportunities, Kyle. When I went to Townsville, I made friends with my 2 seatmates who were great. I was really brave in like initiating conversation, asking questions, sensing whether they were into it or not. They were. We chatted back and forth. They have now like reached out on social media and like follow, and like it was great. It was I'm so glad I did. And also with this thing, like make friends as in like just have a conversation is what I mean, not make best buddies for life. And it felt really contained. It's like, we may never see each other again. Fine. We can still make this present moment quite pleasant for each other. And it was. I forget that even though, there's not much being talked about, it's like, people are interesting. Hey. And then in Townsville, I walked up to a guy who was sitting near the ping pong table, but I saw that he had a bat and a ping pong ball. And I've been playing a lot of table tennis. And I just asked, could I play, and did he want to have a game? And then he said yes. And then we had a good chat, and he was saying he was back, he's studying to be a lawyer, and he was back in Townsville for Eid. And then he asked me to his friend, he was like, I'm just waiting for my friend, but happy to have a game. I was like, oh, thanks. And then his friend turned up, and I was like, oh, I'll let you guys go. He's like, no, do you want to play? We can have a bit of a competition. And I was like, I've got to keep going, which I did. I had to go edit stuff and get ready for my flight. Anyway, that was nice. And then on the shuttle bus to the airport, I made friends with Mimi, who happens to fall into my one specific only activating category of ASMR, right? Oh God, this is so very revealing, which is like, I would say older women who are talkers. I go into like full body euphoric, like goosebumps, like at just like chatter, at just like, especially if they're talkers who, have their little phrases and sort of, oh, you got to go to the islands and it's just so laid back up here. She was so lovely, and we had a good chat, and she's like, oh, sorry, I'm talking too much. I was like, no. And I took that as like a Kyle, ask more questions, dig in deeper. So we chatted all the way to the airport, then through the security, and then we got in. And I didn't realize that Townsville Airport had a Qantas club. And so I was like, oh, Mimi, do you want to, I have a free +1. Do you want to come into the Qantas club, which is like free bar, free food, just a bit more of a chill space. And so she did. And then we parted ways because I wanted it to be very clear. She doesn't have to talk to me. Like, she's not indebted to me. It's like, you're in, you don't need me. You just do your thing. And she'd been like, oh, I need to do some work. So that was great. And they're tiny little things, right? And probably so normal to people maybe like yourself, but not to me. And so I felt really like, oh, I'm being brave and I'm doing my homework finally. And I'm going to keep looking for those opportunities because I think they also feel like the answer to like unlocking some further potential. Oh my gosh, 31. Okay. Next point. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. Yes. Okay. We're almost done. My last thing that I wanted to say is I feel like these are coming to an end, and I feel maybe the one person watching to the end is like, oh, good, finally. I was just watching because I just like to support people online, and you look like a very sad boy who needed support. But I just have been thinking about many things. Oh, and to be honest, I feel quite emotional as I talk about this. So get ready. There could be some tears. I think that I really enjoy, I mean everything that I say when I say about connecting and sharing and hearing from people and knowing they're listening and asking questions or writing comments. Like, I love that, and I wish I was better at responding to them. I'm so sorry. I just can't keep across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube because I'm such a big deal. No, not because I'm such a big deal, but just there are hundreds of comments. And so I really appreciate all that, and yet there is something I can feel inside me that is like, I think quite unhealthy, that is like wanting to share more. That is wanting to and not wanting to be in the bind that is so aware that like in this medium, I know that there is this kind of like explicit and implicit rule that's like, give a pound of flesh for 1,000 views, or this idea of like that vulnerability is something that is just the default of like, you better share your life. You better film the conversation where you come out to your parents and then put that online. You should follow through your relationship to the point of divorce, and then post your "get ready with me as we go to divorce court." It's a Michaela Noguera reference in case you're not the right age and demographic and on the right app to know about that. And I totally respect anyone that wants to do that. But I just think that's not me. I can feel myself feeling the pressure to do it and knowing that I have the ability to talk and to do that. And yet I'm like, I don't know. I think some things are private, and I don't want to share my partner, and I don't want to, I don't want to go to a dinner with friends and film that or share that. And I don't want to, if I'm finding it really hard. I've been trying to do some more vlog stuff. And even as I do that, I'm sort of like, what character am I playing? And then I'm like, I'm not playing a character. I'm Kyle. And then I'm like, I don't want to share this. I don't want to, for a number of reasons. And I think it's because people are so kind to me. When people are like, what sort of hate do you get? It's like, weird. Really none when it comes to like Love Luxury in this chapter of my social media presence. A lot when it comes to the video that I posted calling out workplaces in Australia as the kind of petri dish of mediocrity. There was a lot of people saying you're a failed creative and like lay off and let people leave. And it's like, okay, fair enough. I still stand by my points. But anyway, and I just think I really enjoy acting. I'm not an influencer that did a wacky, kind of like thing with my grandma once upon a time. On that Jetstar flight, there was like Sassy Luke or Sassy Scott or whatever, Luke and Sassy Scott. And it's just so interesting looking at these people, guy from Love Island, and being like, it's so lacking artistry. These like influencers that are personalities. It was so unclear why they were on the flight. Sorry, and if you don't know what I'm talking to, I posted a short that you can watch on YouTube about it, but it was so weird. And they have like 1 million followers, and I'm sure they were paid like a heck ton of money to be there, and good for them. But it's just, I don't want that. I don't want a podcast where I'm chatting with my bros about stuff I'm not educated on, lol, as he says, and hits minute 36. I don't want to be taking you on a date with me. I don't want to be taking you, I don't want to be sharing that. I'm an actor, and I'm a really good actor, and I get great joy out of watching actors share parts of themselves through the facade of story and craft and character and otherness. And I get so bored by actors sitting in chairs talking about the movies that they're in, because I'm also like, I don't care what an actor thinks about this. You were filming, you learned some lines, and you did a workout routine, and you filmed for a couple of months. Can we please hear from the writers, maybe even the director, sure, but like even like the art department, I'd love to hear from, and their research about the world. I don't give a shit about what kind of like how much Margot Robbie found a lady who has short-term memory loss, and that's how she got into the role of Barbie. Great, but like the work speaks so much more profoundly than the clumsy words do. So that's one thing. I have this revulsion to it. And the second thing that I just want to say about it is, I think as I start to play with like some of these more like, I'll use the word spiritual aspects, I feel like that is the greatest vulnerability. I still feel the judgment, and I can track back through 12 months of having done this social media stuff, just different, very good friends at different time advising me to be like, stop posting, like you really need to stop, because like if you do too much Love Luxury stuff, it's gonna not be good. Like people are gonna, whatever. And like fair, if like that's good advice for them, or or for someone who wants to tell themselves that, but it's not good advice for me, because I really have fun doing it, and I really am making money now. So I'm having fun, and I feel like it's the path to me, like the greatest audience I've ever accessed. I am nervous about people like Shoshi, which if you don't know Shoshi, she's a creator on TikTok and Instagram, I'm sure, who does fashion kind of related stuff. She's a very quirky character, and she seems to have this kind of interesting, ambiguous following that both kind of like loves to watch her and loves to hate watch her. It's very interesting, like in the category of people like Corinna Rose, I would say, who equally has a very kind of bizarre and questionable following around like the ethics of who is following. And I personally think both of those people are great. Shoshi has been talking about manifestation recently, and in my opinion, it's just not the right vessel for that message. Love her, but like people are coming for her in the comments. And the weird thing is, and I mean, she's like, I don't think she's the most kind of like academically minded person or necessarily sensitive. So I think the message is a little bit diluted, but I also think she's bang on. Like everything she's saying, I'm like, yep, She's talking about like the idea of like, if you're in a state of wanting, you're actually already in the wrong state to be accessing manifestation. Like, you need to be in a place of gratitude and acceptance and already arrivedness. But people in the comments being like, yap queen, what are you talking about? Whatever. And I know that doesn't have to change what the messenger is delivering or her approach to it. And yet at the same time, I'm like, I'm not strong enough to, if people were coming for me like that, which they're not, but I can have another choice, which is like, I don't have to convince anyone. I can just like, do you know what I mean? Oh, sorry. This camera was like, you're gone. Hi, babe. Oh, hang on. I don't know how to get myself back. Sorry, here I am. I'm still here. So, and I know you probably watching this, I don't know who you are, seemingly supportive, which is great, but I've certainly watched people for years and thought like, I can't wait for them to trip up. And that reveals that I've got a hideous, dark shadow part of me that I'm not proud of, but I also don't think that's a healthy thing to have the ball being thrown over the fence and somebody collecting the ball and stabbing a knife into it and making sure no one ever uses it again and be like, I can't wait till he throws another one over the fence. And I think that's more of a reflection of my own kind of, again, self-esteem and things like that. But much like when I did a total social media kind of like nuking years ago after a breakup and feeling very, very kind of like upset and needing to kind of like hit a reset button in some sort of ways, I realized like, oh, I actually don't need to be on these apps. I don't need to be. And it's a little bit different now because I do want to be on these apps. But things like I don't need to be consuming comments. I don't need to be consuming... I just have control. I have control. And I think that's important to feel like I continue to have control because there's so much that's not within my control. For instance, promoting a Christian streaming service, that is in my control to say no. But oh my God, that's the sign that that's the sign we need to stop. That is absolutely the sign that we need to stop because oh, hello, there's my notes. There's the screen. That's the second time that's occurred. And yes, it's the Joby tripod giving in, but we're also at 42 minutes. So I think we've done the job in some ways. Like, I really thank you for being here if you've watched a lot of these. I also noticed, like, to be honest, I'm here to make money and I'm here to create and share, but I need to start making money and I need to be a little bit more strategic about that. And that involves just being a little bit more strategic and intentional with my time. And I know, sorry, the vision, I'm just fixing that up. And I know that, like, of the videos that I've done, I know of the videos that I've done, the titles that kind of get the most views, that hook people in, are the ones that actually have a kind of thing that people might jump into. So I think I'm going to, rather than this kind of like episodic 30-day blah, blah, I think I'm going to just hit for the kind of BuzzFeed clickbait title ball stuff that hopefully is still interesting to you and hopefully you still might want to watch. But I think things that are a bit more like, here's a video that will have all the comments of people. Like, I would love to do a video that like goes through those comments about the hater video that I sort of said, where people were like, you're a creative failure. And just talk about that a bit, which I think will still go to lots of rambly places. But I think rambly in the sense of like, they need to be maybe 5 minutes max, not 30 minutes of free form kind of Kyle diarrhea. So honestly, I think everyone wins. It's not, I know I'm saying goodbye to about 2 people here, but I really thank you. And please forgive me if there's a little bit more of, a little less of like, well, you've seen it. I mean, I'm not taking these down. So if you found this video, you can go back and watch all the other long form videos. And like my friend Nadia encouraged, like I'm not embarrassed about them. They're my finger paintings that have got me to where I am, and I'm only improving and only getting stronger. But you know, on the kind of manifestation stuff, we might be a little bit more like, and on the kind of like just personal life, how I think, how I feel, I'm a little bit more conscious of like, as my following grows, there's so much stuff in these videos, not that anyone's going to go back through and watch, but like that is clippable in a way that I think could be easily taken out of context and doesn't necessarily reflect all of my whole intention. So, not giving up on like posting on YouTube, just really going to try and like do a little bit more succinct, intentional, thematically chosen videos, and probably a little bit more playing with a little bit more of like intention, character, strategy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when I'm on a live TikTok, for instance, there's a very specific kind of energy and character that I'm drawing on that is not 100% authentically me, but works really well for that live setting. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.